Hey, Trevor, welcome. Welcome. I just want to thank you for reaching out to me and acknowledge. I know it's not always easy for people to make this kind of appointment. So thanks for reaching out and trusting me.
Yeah, I appreciate you having time in your schedule. I'd heard good things. I'd reached a point where I knew I needed some help, and I'm excited to begin this journey with you.
Well, good. And I want you to know I'm here to support you in making the changes you want to make. I'm not here to change you or fix you, but I'm here to make to help support you in what you want to do. And the other thing, just so you know, since you haven't met with me before, everything you share with me is confidential. And um, the only exception would be is if there was imminent danger to you or somebody else. But pretty much everything else that you say here is going to stay here. So I just want you to feel as comfortable as possible here.
Okay, I appreciate that.
So tell me, what motivated you to make this appointment?
So I guess long story short is I am getting older, and I had a doctor's appointment in January, and the doctor was actually really frank with me, talking about specifically my body weight and the impact that it's having on my health. I have a lot of acid reflux, and a lot of it is just because I'm heavier than I need to be. And it also directly relates to my diet. And I just am having trouble following the doctor's direction and advice. Like, I don't want to be the size that I am, and I'd want to be comfortable. Like, it gotten to the point where I couldn't really sleep through the night. Um, but I still am not I'm not doing as well as I would like to do, and it's gotten to the point where I don't feel like I can do it by myself.
Okay, so you had a recent doctor's appointment, and what I hear you saying is the doctor is recommending you make a lot of changes, but these changes seem hard for you, and it's if you don't make the changes, it's affecting a lot of your life. The quality of your life is your sleep and a lot of other things.
Yeah, and they were really in my opinion, I thought they were almost impossible changes, because she told me I had to give up chocolate and pizza and lemon and coffee. And I'm someone in recovery, so I've already given up drugs and alcohol. So what I have left is sweets and coffee. And she's telling me I can't have that either. But she didn't say I couldn't have that. She just said I couldn't have it before bed, and I needed to have less of it, and that if I also weighed less, I would be able to sleep better. And she laid it out for me. Like, I'm on this medication, and the medication manages my symptoms, but it's not good for me to be on for the rest of my life, and the side effects are not pleasant. Um, and so it's not, when I see it in black and white, it makes sense to make the changes, but every day it's a lot more difficult.
Okay, so the medications you're taking have these side effects that you don't like. You want to get off the medications, and you want to get rid of some of these symptoms you're having, even besides the medications.
Yeah, I really like to be active, and I really like spending time outside and doing a lot of outdoors activities, is hiking, um, biking, kayaking. When it was more of a opportunity, I used to do a lot of skiing. And one of the side effects of this medication is that it can weaken your bones. And I can't have weak bones and live the lifestyle that I want to live. Um, so that right there means the medication, it's not going to work for me.
So I hear you saying one of the things that's important in you, like being physically active and getting to do those things, that's pretty high on your value system, is what I hear you saying.
Yeah, that is pretty high on my list. I'd say it's top five for sure.
Okay, that's pretty big.
Yeah, I
Okay,
don't know if I could tell you the other four, but it's up there.
that's okay. All right, but that's important to you, and so that's something that if you what I hear you saying, the doctor's recommending you make these changes, and if you don't, you're going to lose some things that could be valuable to you.
Yeah, I mean, I already feel like I've lost some things. Like I can tell, like I'm bigger than I've ever been, and when I try to move now, it's more difficult than it ever has been. And it's like it's embarrassing. It has some compounding like shame and guilt aspects to it. And it's just something I'm not 100% comfortable with. And I feel like I've been able to change a lot of things, but this is one thing that I've like have not been able to change or that I've held on to, and it's just been going on for too long.
Okay. And so when you say for too long, how long would you say this has been going on for you?
I'd say that like most of my adult life, I haven't had the healthiest diet. There's been times when I have eaten better or healthier, and times when I've done much worse. But I got sober about 6 years ago, and when I got sober, I definitely started relying on sweets and desserts a lot more heavily, like especially later at night, and that's had a big impact. So like it was an issue, and then I could say I think it's better to say like 6 years ago it became a problem.
So I just want to pause for a moment and normalize, and say how awesome that you've stayed sober for 6 years. So that tells me that you are definitely someone who can make significant changes that have really good outcomes. So that's awesome. And I know you know that about yourself, and you probably know this, but I'm just gonna mention this. It's alcohol. Was that something you consumed a lot of? You say you're sober. Was that
Yeah, yeah, I liked alcohol and weed.
so alcohol has a lot of sugar in it. So a lot of people, when they stop drinking, have a lot of cravings for sugar. So it's not surprising that this is something that's kind of evolved for you, because that's they even they even sometimes encourage people to have candy around an early sobriety just to deal with the sugar cravings. So it makes total sense that this has occurred in your life, but it also is something, now that you've been sober for a while and you realize that you're coming to a place where you're looking at making some goals to change it, it sounds like.
Yeah, that's what I need to do. And I'm like a big thing for me is it's just like the convenience factor. If I feel like I don't have time, that I'm gonna eat what's conveniently, which is like a fast food or a restaurant, and eat really poorly. And then if I have time and I shop and I cook for myself, then I eat pretty well. It's just a matter of like prioritizing that and making that time that I continually, I don't want to say fail, but don't do well at.
So you've given me a lot. You've talked about the chocolate and the coffee, the difficulty with that, and you've talked about your physical activity goals. You've talked about the acid reflux, which I guess is related to some of the diet things, the medication, the convenience factor, and we all get into that trap. So out of those things, like if you were to say, what would you think maybe today a focus we could be on, maybe a goal that would be the most, a goal that would be good for you today?
A goal that would be good for me today would be to make like 3 meals at home this week. Because if I made 3 meals at home, that would give me like at least 3 days worth of leftovers, and that would cover kind of most of my meals.
Okay. So if you made 3 meals at home, that would help you with some of the other things. Like that would help you with maybe not having the convenience food. And if you're having the meals at home, I'm guessing that they're going to be healthier than what you would be having if you were eating out, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Like there'll lots of vegetables and a salad, and I like healthy food. I also like really trashy food.
Okay, okay. So, but you do like healthy food. So
Mhm.
it sounds like you've got some good habits already. So if you had 3 meals at home, if that was something you decided to do over the next week, would what would be the benefits for you if you did that?
So I would save money. I would eat well Like I would eat what I wanted to eat and I would get to feel like better about myself in that sense. And then I would stay away from those foods. My doctor told me that like I can't eat. Like I've done good. I haven't had the coffee since January 5th, which has like been difficult. Well, it was more difficult at the beginning. It's not quite as difficult now. But if I lost some weight and I was more comfortable, then I would like to like reintegrate coffee back into my diet because I'd rather uh I don't know, I really love coffee.
I love coffee. If you can give up coffee since January 5th, you can do amazing things, Trevor.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that would be some good outcomes. So that's good. And you've identified that and you've made some changes. What do you think? What barriers do you think that are in your life right now that would be hard to make those changes? Having 3 meals at home during the next week.
So I have like a stressful internship with part of my graduate program, and sometimes when those days get out of hand, I just like say F it and like on the way home stop and pick up something like convenient that's going to give me like immediate satisfaction. So that's something that could derail me, or I kind of don't have a lot of homework coming up, so that's not an excuse, even though I wish I could use that. This week, I feel like I should be able to accomplish that.
Okay. So I'm going to kind of try to summarize. I feel like I want to make sure that I'm hearing you. So just correct me if I get any of this wrong. There's a lot of reasons you have for wanting to make some of these healthy eating changes in your life. And you really want to be have that physical fitness. You want to be comfortable and not be uncomfortable. You want to be able to have coffee again. I want you to have coffee again. I'm feeling it for you. But you don't want the acid reflux. And there's a lot of great things that could happen if you make these changes. But it's a bit challenging because, okay, being an intern in graduate school, there is a lot of stress with that. So it's harder to make those changes sometimes if you've got obstacles. So you've identified those obstacles. So let me ask you on a and but you said that you've got spring break coming up, I think you said, right? Are you staying in town
Mhm.
for spring break?
I'm gonna go out of town for a couple days, and I should be back on by like Wednesday.
Be back on Wednesday. So you might be, I guess if you're going to be out of town, you're going to be eating out, right?
Actually, I'm bringing some meals because I'm gonna be at an Airbnb, so I'm gonna cook at least once while I'm out.
Okay. So you can make that kind of work. Okay. So if you kind of have this goal, let me ask you this question. On a scale of 1 to 10, if you were to think for just the next week, how realistic is it for you during this spring break week, even with the Airbnb, on a scale of 1 to 10, how realistic is it that you think you could have 3 meals at home? 3 home meals. I guess the Airbnb would count as if you're preparing it in the place.
On a scale of 1 to 10, I think it's probably like a 7.
Okay, that's pretty good. All right. So I seven's pretty high up there. So I wonder why you picked a 7 and not a 4. What do you think?
Well, before this meeting, I already did some shopping, so I already have like ingredients and food at home to cook meals that I'm excited about eating. Um, and then just talking about it in front of somebody else makes me a little bit more motivated to follow through because I feel like I owe not just myself but you, even though this is the beginning of our relationship. Uh, I'm better at being accountable to others than myself sometimes, which we could go about that in much further sessions. Uh, so yeah, that's kind of why I have it at a 7.
Okay. So that's good. It sounds like you feel somewhat confident in your ability to do this. And I want to go back to where you've talked about some of the changes you've already made. So, you mentioned being clean. So that you eliminated a whole heck of a lot of stuff if you were drinking a lot and have been in recovery for 6 years. So you've done that successfully. And again, you've eliminated that coffee. And what is it? Are there any other barriers that you think? Do you hate cooking? Do you hate doing dishes?
I hate dishes. I love cooking. I hate dishes, but I also like the environment, and so I don't like to use a lot of like throwaway stuff.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I'd like if I could do like one stop pans, and I wish that worked and it wasn't so destructive. Because I really just I hate dishes. I love to cook. I hate dishes.
So if you okay, so one stop pan, have you been successful maybe in the past in cooking things? It was like a one stop?
Yeah, I do good cooking in like like an instant pot or like casseroles or like that. Like I've done well with that type of stuff. It's just I, my problem is not so much getting started. My problem is inertia and like staying going. I can get thrown off pretty quickly. And then once I get thrown off, I can stay off.
So if you decided for the next, over the next week to do this, what might you do? What could you do to go about it to be successful based on what you've told me about what barriers are for you and what you've done?
I think I should have somebody else be like my accountability buddy. Like I think I should loop my girlfriend in and ask her to encourage me to like cook for us at home because she likes when I cook. She says I'm a good cook. She appreciates that, and she likes doing dishes, so it works out pretty well. Um, I should just give her the opportunities to do some dishes and cook for us.
So if she likes your cooking and you like and she's willing to do the dishes, that sounds like that could definitely be something that could help you be successful, do you think?
Yeah, I think that would work.
All right. So are you willing to think about maybe having that plan? So it sounds like it is what I'm hearing you kind of come up with this is that you could try this for a week and as you said, invite her to be your accountability partner and help you with the dishes.
Yeah, I can do that for this week.
All right. So I'm just gonna kind of recap. So you came in here telling me that you really want to make some changes because it's affecting your life, all of your life, and it's affecting things that are super important to you. Especially the thing that really struck out to me is how physically active you want to be, and inserting coffee back in.
Mhm.
So you come up with some things that you've done that have been successful. The Instapot or the one pot thing where you can cook and you have a girlfriend that likes to do dishes, so those are some ways to do it. You're going, even though you're going to be out of town, you're going to be at an Airbnb, so I think it sounds like you're still going to be able to kind of be able to have meals there. So are you willing to go ahead and commit to maybe doing that this next week, committing to your girlfriend, asking for her support with that? Is that something you'd be willing to do this next week?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Well, I feel that based on what you've told me, Trevor, that you can really be successful in this because you've been successful already in identifying a lot of things that you've done that's working for you. So I just want to thank you for reaching out, and I'm looking forward to hearing how your spring break and your new plan goes for you next week.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for coming in.
Yep.